on economic development and strategy in Cherokee County to build jobs, to create innovative opportunities, and to bring people here to enjoy the quality of life. And we do that in several different focus areas, everywhere from product development, like our corporate park, Cherokee 75 Corporate Park on 92, with Adidas Speed Factory, Extra Motion and Alpha, Yanmar just outside of it, MSK, some of those companies that are inside of that corporate park creating jobs. A lot of those people work locally. We work on that. We also work on film. We have an awesome lady in our office named Molly, who's our camera-ready liaison, and she is the liaison between the film location scouts and the locations in Cherokee County, and she also helps expedite any permitting that's required when they come to a city. We also work on entrepreneurship programs and educational things like the lunch circuit, and then talent and workforce development with Shauna in the back here. So we do all kinds of stuff. We work with our investors now that we have a public-private partnership called Cherokee by Choice, and so this is our big campaign over the last 6 months or so. You may have seen the hashtag, and we invite you to be a part of it with us. So the idea here is a lot of us work and play in Cherokee, but 78% of us leave the county every day, and a lot of us live and play, but we don't work here. And so we're trying to change that statistic slowly with the stuff that we're working on. And so we developed a brand campaign and a story and attached that to it. And we invite you guys into it. If you haven't told us your Cherokee by Choice story, we'd love to hear it. Go on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, or your favorite social media. Anybody here a Snapchat fan? 2 people. Yeah. That's why we don't have a Snapchat strategy. Use the hashtag Cherokee by Choice and tell us why you chose to be here. Why did you make Cherokee your choice to live, play, and work? We'd love to hear the story. So Fresh Start Cherokee, for those of you who don't know, is a program we started almost 3 years ago, and it's the educational programming of our entrepreneurship area. So everything from programs like the lunch circuit to resources that were, my game is thrown off here. I don't have my clicker, so forgive me. So the lunch circuit, with folks like these on screen. Sorry, Ben. Or our program, 1 Million Cups, which is a bi-weekly program. And I recently learned that bi-weekly is different from bi-monthly, which is also different from every other week. So, all that being said, the first and third Wednesday of every month, we meet here at the circuit, and then we hit the road with our 1 Million Cups program, where an early stage startup entrepreneur pitches their company and presents their challenges to a community of investors and mentors and entrepreneurs for feedback. So it's a great program that always involves free coffee if you guys want to check that out. We have a program called the Creative Problem Solvers that's been meeting for almost 2 years now. And this is basically a local think tank of business owners and entrepreneurs that want to go more than just network. They want to get together in a room and truly solve each other's challenges. What keeps them up at night? Why do they wake up in the morning? All those different big life questions about business. And of course, you guys are at the circuit. So anybody's first time here at the circuit? Maybe? All right, great. So this was obviously an old basketball gym. Originally Woodstock Elementary back in 1906. Chat Tech took over it a few years ago and really renovated it. And then with a vision between Chat Tech, our office in Woodstock, we came together for this space, which is the first of its kind in Cherokee County and in the state of Georgia, to have an entrepreneurship co-working space on a technical college. So it's really cool to position entrepreneurs in front of future talent and then give those students opportunities to connect and network with future jobs, future employers. So that's the website for the circuit. These are some of the faces of our community. So we have memberships from hot desks on up to offices, where entrepreneurs who are early stage, or maybe they're just remote workers, can work from here instead of hitting the road every day, and they can be a part of a pretty diverse, talented community instead of working alone. And of course, we couldn't do this without our partners in the circuit. Also, special thanks today to the In Woodstock brand. Brian Stockton, I don't think he's in here, but they do a great job as a partner to help us promote this program and some of our other programs, so we couldn't do it without them. And then the food this morning from Las Milpas, is that pretty good? Authentic Mexican food, straight out on Arnold Mill, maybe 5-6 miles from here. So thanks to Las Milpas. You coming in right in time for your speech. Misty Martin, our fearless leader. So, real quick before I introduce Ben, this is something we've been doing a couple months now, trying to explain why do we do this program, and there's three reasons why the lunch circuit. Number one, we really feel like stories have a powerful impact. When you sit down and hear somebody's story in a setting like this, or one-on-one over coffee, it relates to you like nothing else. We feel like it has an impact, you can connect with that person, it even creates a sense of empathy. And then, obviously, community. I mean, this is a big deal to have a community like this you can belong to in Cherokee County and in Woodstock. And so we built this program to really help foster a sense of community. And then finally, with a focus on entrepreneurship. This was our very first program. We're about to celebrate 2 years next month. And so every single second Wednesday we do this. We've interviewed entrepreneurs in the past from all over Cherokee County because we believe that entrepreneurship is a powerful way to build the economy from the ground up. And this is the part where we get really tech savvy. So everybody pull out their phones real quick, and you can use your best favorite browser on your phone and pull up the website Slido, slido.com. Cue the Jeopardy music. Once you pull up the site, there's a little box you can put in a hashtag. You don't have to type the hashtag, just type lunch circuit, all one word. What this is going to do is allow you guys to, especially you introverts in the room, to type in any questions as I'm interviewing Ben that you may have that you don't want to ask out loud. And I'm going to tell you, whenever there's a support group that comes for a speaker, the questions get pretty interesting. So have as much fun as you want. If you have serious questions or you have silly questions, that's totally fine. And then at the end, when we're done interviewing Ben, we'll do some quick audience questions with you guys. We'll pull from the app, and then we'll pull from live questions too. Now, if you really want to enjoy it, you can upvote your favorite questions and make your friends at the table feel really horrible. But it's just a kind of a cool way for us to engage with you guys on a different level. So, before I invite Ben up here, I want to share a few pieces of information that I think you guys will find interesting. So Southeast Restoration, which is Ben's company, started in 1999 with one employee inside of the back guest bedroom of a single wide trailer on a piece of property with 2 borrowed pieces of metal file cabinets. So that's pretty fascinating. So from the back guest bedroom of a single wide trailer to now, 20 years this year, Southeast Restoration has increased their team base to 140 plus employees. They're in 7 locations now in 2 states, soon to be 8 locations. And this year, they've had a great first quarter. They're projected to do $36.5 million in revenue. And according to Ben today, I asked him, I said, you know, how do you feel about the rest of the year? And he said, if things continue like Q1, then they'll already be north of 36 million. So really cool growth in just a short period of time. And it's been impressive. And so I want to share a couple other fun facts before we invite Ben up. You may see these at some point, but these coins, they started doing it a couple years ago. And I don't know if you've seen these before, but they're designed to be in your pocket. They go with you so that when you pull it out, you're reminded of a value or a theme. They started doing this a couple years ago, and Southeast Restoration's theme this year is excellence. So this is a way for their team members and their company to hold on, literally, to values and take them with them as a fresh reminder. It's really cool. It's something they've done for a couple of years now. And so that's a pretty interesting fact. Another thing that Ben wanted me to make sure I mentioned was that Misty and Ben in the back here grew up together. Their families have been friends for a couple of years. No, not really. A long time. And interesting fact that Misty will probably not want me to share. In 2011, Ben and Misty both won Georgia's 40 under 40. And they got to attend the conference together, and they were highlighted, so that's a pretty cool opportunity, at least 8 years ago. So Ben's been in the community. What's that? Yeah, that's right. This is when they were 10. So anyway, without further ado, would you guys welcome Ben Looper?
Thank you.
All right, we'll do a quick mic test here.
Down or up?
Probably close.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to make sure they hear you more than me.
All right.
But you can definitely sit unless you want to stand.
There you go.
Which way? That'd be the first time we've ever stood. All right, so I want to start with a couple of quick questions, just shooting from the hip. You haven't seen these, which is intentional. So,
I want to apologize to anybody that mentioned during any of these things?
Ben's family is here, so let's keep in mind our audience here. All right. I want you to sum up your personality in a hashtag.
Oh, wow.
Hashtag driven.
Driven, okay. Are you an early bird or a night owl?
Early bird.
So not both, one or the other?
Early bird.
So what time do you shut down at night? When are you done?
9:30. I'm out.
Okay.
Yeah.
No text after 9:30 is what you're saying?
Unfortunately, we still get those. But you asked what time I was out. So
That's right.
Yeah.
iPhone or Android?
iPhone.
Sorry if anybody's offended by any of these answers. Your favorite TV show as a kid?
Favorite TV show? I'll go with Different Strokes.
Anybody remember that?
What you talking about?
We're really going to divide the room by generation.
I'm not sure that one was my favorite. It's just my first answer.
The most dangerous thing that you've ever done?
Skydiving.
Okay. What was that like?
It was exhilarating. It was good.
Yeah. Where did you do it?
Cedartown. Land skydiving.
Preferred communication, email, call, or text?
I'm an old school guy, so probably call.
Phone call. So can I say before the event, Ben and I exchanged, was it like 7 phone calls in 5 minutes?
Right. Yeah, that's good.
What is your favorite slang saying? Or it doesn't have to be slang, just favorite.
My family would probably do a better job answering this than I would. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe do I say anything slang?
No.
I'm not that cool.
We can talk about it later.
She's trying to teach me.
Bless your heart.
Yeah.
Turnt. Just say it. Turnt. All right, but I heard it. Hashtag turnt. Favorite.
Somebody tell me what that is.
Favorite athlete and why?
Arnold Palmer. He was the people's person, people's player.
Yeah. He won the Masters how many times?
3 times.
3 times. You were watching as a kid. And then last question, business or casual?
Business casual. I like both. There's different times. The debate today was this is Masters Week, and I wear a Masters tie for the last 15 years or so. Masters Week, I'm in a shirt and tie every day for the Masters out of respect for Augusta National, and I looked online and it looked like a pretty casual crowd. So I went business casual today.
You broke tradition.
I broke tradition just
years.
today. The first thing Jeremy asked me is where's the Masters this morning. So
That's actually a really big
broke
deal.
tradition. Yeah.
I really feel honored or guilty.
I wear more ties this week probably than I do all year long.
Wow, that's cool. Well, let's jump in.
All right.
Let's talk a little bit about your backstory. Tell us a little bit about you, your family, and what life was like growing up.
So from Cherokee County, my mom's here, my wife and youngest daughter, my middle son is working today at Chick-fil-A for Kevin Williams over at Hickory Flat. My oldest is in Birmingham at Sanford University. So grew up just south of here off Shallowford Road until about the 4th grade, so probably 10 or 11. We moved north because my grandparents lived north, and so I was raised there, and then just over the Cobb County line, and then we moved up to the Buffington community back when I was about 10. So raised up in Cherokee County. Started out at Cherokee High School, and then they built Sequoyah High School in 1989. Moved over there and graduated from Sequoyah with Brandy was a year behind me. And so been here ever since. Went to KSU, local, so hadn't got far.
Awesome. What did you focus on at KSU? What was your degree?
Business.
Business. Yeah.
We just celebrated the Coles 25th year anniversary with Michael Coles, and we were there when it opened, so a long time ago.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, play sports in college?
Not in college, no. Had a chance to play golf as a club sport, but decided I was working at the time and they wanted a lot of time and no benefits from it, so did not. Played a lot in high school.
Yeah, that's good. So you've heard us talk about Cherokee by Choice before. You've heard us talk about it here. What would be your Cherokee by Choice story? I know you grew up here, but is that a big piece of why you stay, or are there other things, aspects about Cherokee County specifically that you call on?
Yeah, I think the heritage with the family being here, and I've had the privilege of traveling and going everywhere, and it's great to travel and see other places, but other than the mid-August summers and the Masters Week pollen, there's not. I hadn't found a better place to raise a family and to have a business.
That's awesome. 3 kids.
3 kids.
And the ages are?
18, 16, just turned 16, and 13.
It's awesome. We talked offline about preparing me for teenagehood.
Okay.
All right. You got 3 girls, so it's...
I'm not sure how much help I'll be.
Yeah. Last night was rough, that's all I'm going to say. I've got an 11-year-old who feels like she's 16, and I'm not sure she wouldn't actually take the car.
Yeah.
That's another story. So I want to dig into how you define an entrepreneur, because I think everybody defines it differently, and in the last couple decades, the definition is starting to broaden to more of somebody who's entrepreneurial minded. Maybe they don't have a business, but they have the mindset or the skill set of an entrepreneur. So how would you define an entrepreneur, and then why did you decide to become one versus like a corporate job somewhere?
Definition, entrepreneur, somebody with a vision and a dream that thinks they can go out and do something at a higher level and better, and wants to make a difference in their communities or wherever they're at. And I honestly fell into it. Was fortunate. I think you're born with a little bit of that spirit, and from the time I was 14 or 15, started we were doing lawn care business and stealing our parents' lawnmowers and their gas to go cut lawns and getting money for it, and worked way through school and just kind of fell into it, like the leadership role and aspect of being an entrepreneur, being able to make some of your own decisions along the way, but it comes with a lot of risk.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit more how you fell into it. So I'm sure, 20 years ago, but what did you do between KSU and...
Yeah, so I did my own lawn care thing, and then I had some guys that had graduated from high school and college. I had a landscaping business, so I went to work with them when I was in high school and early in college. My best friend's dad was a commercial grading and hauler, and all he wanted to do was get on a bulldozer, and he didn't care anything about the business. So I ran the business, and while he got to play in the dirt, and then in 1995,
that was a good year. Braves won the World Series.
Braves won. I had an opportunity with a guy that I went to high school with that didn't go to college, and he'd moved to South Florida to learn this business, the restoration industry, and there really was not an industry around it at the time. And we started in a little white house just down by the Bubble Brush, just on Highway 5, right down here, a little white house, just this north side of it, and started building the business. And then in 1999, I had the opportunity. He wanted to go into more of a disaster recovery, large, storm type work. I was just married, getting ready to start a family, and decided that I wanted to be here and not be on the road for 6 or 9 months a year chasing storms. And so the residential accounts that we built up over the years, I kept those, and he took the other, and he's been very successful. I owe him a great deal for where we're at today.
So it sounds like a mixture of right place in the right time, but also intentional decisions on your part. Do you feel like basically your friend decided to play in the dirt? You feel like that was a pretty big catalyst for you at that moment to decide, well, I'm not going to play in the dirt, I'm going to work on the business side of it. Do you feel like you walked away with foundational skills from there that...
Yeah, absolutely. My best friend's dad he was a Southern Baptist preacher, and he didn't care anything about the business side, so I think that was some foundational work while I was at Kennesaw, studying business there, and then to have this opportunity to get into the industry, the restoration industry with the guy just down the road here, just by chance, and he had a great business mind too, so just continued to add to that foundation.
Yeah. So I want to talk about some facts or fictions wrapped around entrepreneurship, because we talk with a lot of entrepreneurs here at the circuit and some of our other programs, and I feel like there's a lot of myths out there about entrepreneurship in general, whether it's if you fail, then you're good as dead. So avoid failure. There's myths around you're automatically going to be rich. There's myths around it's like a 9 to 5. You don't have to do much more than after that. And there's just a bunch of myths, right? There's also myths wrapped around identity. Like once you do something for 10, 20 years, you are what you do. Can you talk about any myths that you may have believed over the last 20 years that have become known to you that aren't true?
I'm not sure any additional myths than you just mentioned. I think it is what you put into it. I think there are entrepreneurs that can start at 9 o'clock and cut it off at 5 o'clock. I'm not one of those, and my family will tell you it's, I'm in an industry that's service industry that's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Nobody knows when something's going to happen to their home, so we've got to be ready at all times. So it's kind of like first responders, whether it's a police or fire or something. So we've got to be on call and ready to go, all the time. So, it is a little more, difficult in that aspect, but I really love what I do, and I love work, and I love making a difference, in people's, lives. I think a myth, you see when you think of entrepreneurs and start businesses, a lot of it is financially driven, and I'm probably, and our CFO and partner, Jeremy Swafford's here, he'll tell you, I'm probably the least financially motivated person, CFO or CEO, president of any company. Jeremy does a great job of keeping me informed and making sure we got money in the bank, and Lewis Klein's here. Lewis was my banker originally in 1999, when you could call up your banker and say, I need some money because I'm broke, or I need to buy something, and he would put it in the account and say, okay, just come by the bank, in a couple of days and sign the paperwork. And that doesn't happen anymore. But Lewis is still to this day, we're loyal to Lewis and his team for what they've done there. But from an entrepreneurial standpoint, people think it's just going to be, you don't have to answer anybody and you're going to make a lot of money. And I think the more entrepreneurs you talk to, that's probably not the case.
Right. So I want to talk about how you guys have scaled, because it's fascinating to me thinking about 20 years, which is a relatively short time, but a lot can happen in 20 years. 20 years ago, I was about to be 18. But 20 years dedicated to one thing, I think is a big deal. So I want to talk about how you've scaled and grown. One of my best buddies and mentors, who's actually in the back of the room right now, Rob Wilkerson. He probably didn't know I was going to quote him this morning, so hopefully I quote you correctly. He's hiding behind the wall. He said, when my dad and I had a business, we were struggling with some of the systems side of it, because my dad and I are naturally idea visionary guys and not systems people. And he basically said, Jonathan, people run systems, systems run businesses. Is that accurate? And so I think that statement that was made, almost 10 years ago was radically changed the way my dad and I ran our business. And so obviously you guys must depend quite a bit on systems to grow to where you are today. So talk about how you managed to do that over the last 20 years.
Yeah, I think first of all, surrounding yourself with great people, with different talents than you got. That's probably been my key to success, is understanding what talents I don't have and then going out and finding the right people to do that. Jeremy's a great example. Jeremy was our commercial banker with Lewis back in 2008 when the economy dove, and I was interviewing for a controller position, and I was fortunate enough to steal him away from the banking industry at the right time.
From Lewis, directly.
From Lewis at the right time. But surround yourself with the right people, and then keeping yourself informed, being ahead of the curve with processes and procedures and systems in place. I was just showing a couple of guys this morning, what some of the stuff that we do, and daily tracking and technology just continues to amaze me with, everything that's out there these days, but being willing and able to change what you're doing and not get stuck in a rut, and making sure that the systems that you've got in place are actually moving the business forward, or being willing to step back and, if I say if it's not broke, let's look at it and see if we can't break it or do something else.
So are you a systems guy naturally, or is that something you've had to bring in other people and say, create systems and processes?
I'm a detail guy, so I love the systems and I love the numbers in place, but we've got smarter people than me running the systems out there. I need the numbers and information, and we can come up with the vision of how to move it forward.
Right, that's good. So speaking of scaling a company like you've done from 1 to 140 people, 7 locations, about to be 8. How do you make sure your culture stays intact, right? I mean, you hear stories of companies that scale quick, and then there's a bad apple, or their values weren't foundational and secure, and so things start to fall apart. How do you guys keep your culture so strong while you scale?
Yeah. As the business has grown, that's transformed into my primary role. And we kid the team that we don't like titles and we don't use them a whole lot, but CEO stands for Chief Encouragement Officer. That's really what I do. I like the detail. I like looking at the financials. I like coming up with the plans, but a lot of my day is spent around the team and encouraging team members, where we're at. We got a great retention rate. We do a lot of great things for the team members, but I'm on the road every quarter in every location, sitting down with the team. We have weekly huddles, so every week in the locations we have about an hour blocked where we have strategic huddles, and then we have daily huddle phone calls every morning with the leadership team, and we cascade that down throughout the organization. And so by 9 o'clock every morning, everybody in the organization's got every piece of information they need, by 9 o'clock that morning if it's cascaded down correctly. So some of the systems in place, we get numbers every day, and that's what drives the decision making for the next day, and what needs to be done there. But that's happened over a long period of 20 years, period of time that we put that in place. But communication is by far the key. I was telling somebody this morning that 5 years ago I would hear, well, I just don't know what's going on in the business, and we don't ever hear. And so we've strategically put some things in place with those huddles. We do a monthly letter out just to the team, with critical information. I do a video blog about every 2 weeks, where I'll shoot a video and some important information to me and give some shout outs to the team members. So since we've done a lot of these things and put them in place, I haven't heard anybody say, I don't know what's going on, because if they do, it's their own fault. Because we spend a lot of time and a lot of effort, communicating out to our team to keep them informed.
That's good. So communication is huge, but also a focus on people. So what does that look like practically? Because when I got to tour your customer support center in Holly Springs area last week, and it was very evident, literally from posters on the walls, that there is a very intentional focus on strategy and brand and doing things well, but also people. So you can make it about systems, but then how do you guys practically focus hard on people?
A couple of things that we do that we've created internally. Our leadership team, which is made up of our general managers and directors, we have a weekly huddle phone call. We do a daily huddle update, and we get a report push so we know what's going on. We have a weekly huddle phone call, but we also do a bi-weekly, every other week, we do a management development call. So we're reading all the time. We read through probably half a dozen or so books a year. And one of the last ones that we read was by Tom Peters, The Excellence Dividend. And one of the things he talks about is managed by walking around. So MBWA, I guess, managed by walking around. So I start my day every day, I'm in early, and then when everybody gets there, I take about 10 or 15 minutes and literally go around and talk to every person in the office, just to check on how their night was, how they're, what they've got in front of them for the day, what's going on, and then really identifying and doing things to build team members. We started a emerging leaders program 3 years ago, is that right? three years ago, where we identify every year 12 up-and-coming leaders in the organization, and we feed into them with a quarterly meeting and every other week phone call. We go through some of the same books, but some of the different, books, and have a hour and a half call, once every other week with them. But really, just enhancing them. We've created our own university platform where we've got all of our content on there that people can go and take and watch and read and take tests on different aspects of the business. If they forget it, there's a platform that they can go back and take things from. So really just growing our people personally and professionally, and that's what we, the key to our business is our people internally and the trade partners that are out there doing the work. So helping and encouraging them, True, Kathy says, how do you know when somebody needs encouragement? And says if they're breathing, they need encouragement. So it's little things like writing handwritten notes. We've got a board that we pass, our gratitude board that we pass around our office, and if it gets on your desk and you got a note on it, you got 24 hours to write somebody else a note in the office and turn it around and, encourage them about some of the things they're doing. So really doing some things probably outside the norm, but really team member focused to where, they continue to be bought into the culture that we talk about. We talk about culture, core values, core competencies, our purpose. Every huddle, we talk about those things to make sure they're ingrained.
Yeah. So talk about the idea of enjoying work too, because I think this is relevant to talking about people and culture. Because I know there's people that just don't enjoy work. They don't enjoy their work. They don't enjoy work. Period. It's boring, or it's too hard, or it's like a means to an end.
Yeah.
How do you approach work? I know you seem to enjoy it, and then talk about where did that come from?
Yeah, love what we do. We get the opportunity, and as I said, I fell into this industry when there really wasn't an industry, so just happened to be in the right place at the right time. But we get to go out every day and help people that have had something tragic happen to their house. So I've shared before that there's body shops that are preferred body shops, and when you wreck your car, you call your insurance agent and say, I've wrecked my car, and they say take it to Billy Bob's Body Shop because they're one of our preferred vendors, where we're kind of the Billy Bob for the house. We're the preferred vendor for the insurance companies in their house. So we at people's most traumatic time or their lowest time when something's happened, whether it be a fire, a flood, mold, whatever a storm comes through, whatever it may be, they've still got to go to work. They've still got kids to get to school. They've still got church and ball and all these activities. They really don't have time nobody's got time to deal with, something happening at their house. So we get to come in and kind of, if we do our job and do it right, we get to be the heroes to those patrons that, need our help and at that time and come in and take care of them. So that's the satisfying part to it. And then, secondly, the enjoying part, one of our core values is to make it fun, and we probably go overboard sometimes. Well, this is my assistant's back here, and she's easily scared, so we hide around the corner in the office and scream out of a bullhorn.
That's awesome.
We usually videotape it. And she has pride. We can get them on YouTube. But we all have a great time. The people we work with, we do life with. We're at work over half our lives anyway, and the families are all close. The kids are all close. I was in Pigeon Forge the end of last week, and one of our team members' family was up there. He was not up there, but they were up there, and I ended up being his daughter's riding partner on the roller coasters because she didn't have nobody to ride with her. So we do life together, day in, day out, and it's a lot of fun. We get to, but helping people restore their lives, getting them put back together, and the more we can keep off of them, they still got to make decisions on what color paint or what color flooring, but the more we can take off of them so they can continue their day-to-day routines, the better it is. So yeah, that's the enjoyable part of it for us. It's the finished product.
I want to talk about, so I'm just trying to watch the time here. I want to talk about mentorship, because that's something that's fresh on our team's mind. And especially since entrepreneurship can feel very often like a solo sport, especially when you're starting out the first couple of years, you're kind of running this and doing your own thing and figuring things out. have there been mentors in your life or in the life of you and your family or business partners over the last 20 years? And what kind of an impact has that left on you?
Yeah, certainly have been mentors. Some that knew they were mentors and some that didn't. Kathy, I mentioned Kathy earlier. We used to ride down to Cumberland Mall to get a Chick-fil-A sandwich. Now you can go 5 minutes from your house and get one, but we used to make a trip down Highway 5 here before there was 575 to Cumberland Mall to get a Chick-fil-A sandwich. But his example, and then I've had numerous local, either entrepreneurs or businessmen that have kind of taken me under their wing and have been there, for me and been available to help me in a mentoring relationship and get me through some of the questions and tough times. And then I was led about 12 years ago to start mentoring young teenage men. And I take one at a time and feed into them. And that's probably one of the more rewarding things to see where they've gone on to and grown. One young man started as an intern in our office 10 years ago, 11 years ago, and now is our COO in the business. Went through school, went to work at another commercial construction firm. We had a chance to bring him back, and he is a unicorn. He's a special young man that we were able to do. But it started with a mentoring relationship that long ago. So I've had an opportunity to do that with half a dozen or so young men that are at this critical age of 16 to 18 in their lives that they need some adult mentoring, and sometimes their dads are great people and they got great relationships, but there's just some things you can't talk about with your dad. So you need and they're either going to go to their friends that are 16 or 17 years old and get the answers, or hopefully they got somebody in place. So that's been a big positive for me. It's been more enjoyable probably for me than it has for them to spend that time and grow together.
That's awesome. So we have a couple minutes before we go into audience Q&A. So
sure.
I want to ask probably one question is all we have time for, but could you share a loss or a mistake in the business or a time in the last 20 years that you just felt like, man, we really flubbed it up big time, and what did you learn from that?
Probably two things. I had a guy that after I'd started the business in '99, guy that I grew up with, we'd been friends through school, and he was a fireman and was working 24 hours on all 48 hours. I needed some help. He came to help me on those days off. A couple months into it, he came in one day and said, "I quit the fire department. I'm gonna do this full time." So we ramped up the business, but we were cut from two different cloths. We had a different set of morals and values and ethics, and it wasn't a good fit. So that for a couple of years, and then in 2004 decided to split the business and let him go do his own thing, and then not start over, but essentially start afresh. Start Southeast in January 2005, kind of on a new uphill take from there. So that's probably was the hardest thing is, and the biggest lesson learned is know who you're getting in bed with or working with, from a business standpoint, to make sure that y'all are equally yoked or got the same vision as you move forward. And then we opened the only office that we've ever closed, and it really, I don't think it was a mistake or lesson learned. We opened an office in Greenville during that time of the economy was down. We had some local builders in that area that were new home builders, and they didn't have any work. We had been asked and looking into that market, so we went up to that market for about a year and a half, 2 years until their work picked back up, and then we kind of dissolved that and moved and opened a location in Augusta, and that's been one of our most successful offices in Augusta. But the Greenville thing taught us, a lot of lessons about, partnering in the business that far away and doing that. So we fortunately were profitable and got out. They wanted to be back in the new home building. They didn't care about the restoration industry.
Sure.
So it worked out good.
So talk about a win, a big win or a win or two that you're proud of over the last year.
Wow. Big win. continuing to grow the business. Like I said, I'm not financially driven, but I am driven by adding team members and butts in the seats and watching people grow in the organization, move up through the organization. So we're up, like you said, to 140 team members. That's what gets me excited, is seeing people getting added to the boat, and as we continue to grow, through the organization. We've had some great wins with either locations. Every location we've planted, we've been able to either give an opportunity to somebody in one of our locations that's from that area, or bring somebody back home. I mentioned Augusta location, the guy that runs that, him and his wife were living in LaGrange working with a restoration company, but were from Augusta and wanted to move back home, and it was a great culture fit, and he has just gone over there. Literally, we've been over there 6 years this month, and we've gone from not having a presence in the market to now we own that market in the restoration industry. We've taken over that market. There's some guys that's been there 20 plus years that we've been able to go in and have that kind of impact. And it's because they're from that area, they know the people, they love that area, and they work it, they work our systems, hard. So seeing some of those, anytime we get the breakthrough with certain carriers, we work for, I think it's 13 of the top 15 carriers, but there's still some carriers that, even in the first quarter of this year, our Director of Business Development, Chris Freeman, has had some breakthroughs with 4 different insurance companies that we're starting to do work with as preferred vendors. So, that's exciting just to see new work coming in from different areas that we haven't seen before.
Well, so final question, and what role, just think about your family. I know people talk about bringing work home, right? And whether entrepreneurs or people who aren't entrepreneurs bring their work home physically, I think we all bring it emotionally. And then we also bring home to work. I mean, there's just no way to separate it, let's face it. And so that's kind of our real reality as workers. How has your family impacted you to make you a better entrepreneur, better leader?
That's a great question, and you're exactly right. I think it's impossible. You can't walk out of the office and say you're going to shut it down and go home and it not be either all over your face or all over your heart or wherever it's at. You do carry it with you in the good times and the bad. When things are good, it's good. When it's bad, it's bad. Brandy and I were high school sweethearts, so kid people that she doesn't know any better and I don't either, but she's certainly been my foundation and grounding for what we're able to do and the support for what we've been able to do with the business and grow it.
And what about just the impact on what it's like to be a dad? How do you feel like your kids have impacted you as being a leader?
Yeah, that's interesting, because I grew up with a brother, and God decided to give me 2 daughters and a son that is like me in some ways and not like me in other ways. I tell people, well, we got 3 kids, and they're as different personalities, sometimes as they can be. But yeah, just being intentional about spending time with them, watching what they've been able to do and the success they've been able to have, and just their short period here on earth has been beneficial to me to see the positive change.
That's awesome. Well, thank you. And I know we could go longer, but I want to transition now to you guys for the time we have left for questions that you may have. And while we do that, if I could get somebody to help me bring 2 more high top chairs up onto the rug, would you mind, Heath? And then I want to ask Melissa and Jeremy to come up here with us. Is that okay?
Heath, just bring one more. I'll stand up. Bring one.
In case you guys want to ask any questions about, or one more, okay. Any questions operationally, culture-wise, people-wise? Ben thought it'd be cool to have Melissa and Jeremy up here as well to field questions. So I'll start with one here from the app. They're all anonymous except for one brave person. So thank you, Beth Morgan. I don't know if she's still here. So Beth says, what is your 3 to 5 year vision for the company?
You want to hear that, or you got it?
Oh, that's for me?
No.
That was just came to mind.
We do have a strategic plan in place for growth and revenue and team members that we track towards, and it's a 3 to 5 year plan. I have a hard time getting and thinking that far out, because every time we've done that, we've been able to exceed what we thought we could do. So I don't want to limit ourselves, but it's in God's plan and God's timing. What's going to happen. I told somebody on the phone this morning, our last location that we opened was in 2013, and we have continued to grow the business from the locations we've got, but we're in a growth mode now, and we've had 3 opportunities put in front of us that will allow us to expand to other territories if we choose so to take them. So I don't have any intention of putting Southeast Restoration on every street corner, but if it's God's will, and it's all about the right people. If we got the right people running those locations, we got the systems and the processes in place that make it really easy. We can have all the systems and processes in the world, but if we don't have the right people running them, it won't work. So literally we could have 2 to 3 additional locations by this time next year if they all went through, but they don't always all go through. So.
Right, that's a good point. All right, any questions from out here on anything for Ben or the team? Ben?
Yeah, you touched on it a little bit, but your decision-making process, what does that look like internally?
Decision-making processes
For your company? Yeah.
Personnel-wise, or from a business?
From a business strategy
standpoint. So we use Jeremy and I went to a conference up in Chicago about 10 years ago, and there was a guy, Vern Harnish, that had written a book called The Rockefeller Habits. Since then, he's rewritten it, and it's called Scaling Up, and it's a methodology of systems and communication tools that you put in place that allow you to make more strategic decisions on that strategic plan that we talked about. And so Scaling Up is kind of our business Bible, if you want that. It focuses on strategy, execution, cash, and people. So those 4 areas, anything can fall under one of those 4 areas, and that helps us kind of stay guided, where we're moving from the city.
Thank you.
That's good.
I have kind of a sort of a 3-part question. The emerging leaders program that you created. Can you elaborate a little bit more on how that works? And secondly, what factors do you try to really foster in those people? What are you really trying to emulate or teach? What is it you really want to turn them into in the end? What are the thought processes that you're trying to build into them? And then the last piece of that would be, do you ever worry about training somebody so much that when you get done training them that they might leave you?
Yeah.
Do you worry about that?
Yeah, sure. That's a age-old question. So first, the Emerging Leaders Program was just something I had on my heart and wanted to do for a long time. And as the business continued to grow, we knew we needed to be identifying and feeding into some of these new leaders. So I started putting a curriculum around it. A year later, we started the program, and we asked our leadership team and our Emerging Leaders alumni to identify the team members, and it's an application process, and they have to write an essay and why they are interested in the Emerging Leaders Program, because it's additional work. They don't get paid any additional for it, but it's additional work that they get to go through. But they get an inside look in the organization that they wouldn't have otherwise, because we can't do that with everybody. What we really try to foster is servant leadership. I mean, we really try to instill servant leadership into each of our emerging leaders and our leadership team. Serve with compassion is one of our core values, and really giving them tools and opportunities to build themselves as servant leaders. That's our hope and their goal, and our goal that they're going to be inspired. By the time that it gets to the end of the program, we don't guarantee a promotion or we don't guarantee anything, but it elevates them and certainly gives them a leg up when they've been through the program. And the last question.
How do you deal with the fear of
The fear of them leaving? That used to be a great concern, and what we have found that if we do the right things and we put all the right tools in place and we feed into these things, and one of the things I talked about was really growing your people personally and professionally. There's just not a ton of opportunities for that to happen in other organizations. and I don't know why. You would think it would be primary, but they're focused on different things, and so we feel like by doing that, our retention rate is high. And then we do have team members that get great opportunities, and they go out in the field, and we've just had 2 recently that have come back and said the grass wasn't green, it's green on the other side. We care more about the culture and what we're doing here as an organization. So that's always satisfying when that happens.
Plus, it's a blood oath covenant, so you really can't. He didn't mention that. Any other questions out here before I go back to the app?
I guess I've got one. Ben, I'm a prior customer and in the process of becoming a repeat customer, and most of that is because every single person I've met with the organization has been stand-up, so I thank you for that. I'm really just curious, what percentage of your business comes from being insurance paid versus homeowner paid?
Yeah, Jeremy would probably be more apt to ask that. It's almost all insurance paid. We don't take on any typical remodels or homeowner paid work unless there's a really slow time, or there's repeat customers or people that we know that are looking for our help, somebody that we worked with and been able to do that. So it's mainly insurance based. The insurance company, it's kind of a cycle, but the insurance company pays the customer, so the customer ultimately is responsible for paying us. But we've kind of, no pun intended, but we've got an insurance with having the insurance company be a partner with us to go back on if the homeowner decides to cash the check and not pay us, and that has happened too many times. But we do all the work, and they say, "Sorry, I've spent the money," and then Jeremy and his team get to chase them down and show up at their doors and a baseball bat.
That's the fun part of the job.
Yeah, that's the hardest thing. But thank you, and thank you for saying that. That's the greatest compliment we can get. Is anytime that we've done work in somebody's house and they're willing to let us come back in and do more work, and then having the people on staff to be able to carry out those core values. That's critical.
There's a question on here. How do you market your business?
Ours is really relationship based, and with the insurance companies, in our industry, there's a TPA or a third party administrator segment of our business that is a middleman group that is between us and the insurance companies that we have to do all of our certifications and business licensing and background checks, and then the insurance company feeds a claim to them, and then we get it assigned to us, and that's a big trend in our industry because the insurance companies are wanting to remove as much liability from themselves as possible, doing that. So we do a lot of our work, consistent work with the TPA, so a lot of marketing there. Local insurance agents and that Jay Willis from State Farm is here, and local insurance agents that we've been partners with for years, and we go back, and really our goal is to take care of their customers. At the end of the day, we want them to retain their customers, and if we do our job right, they get that renewal at the end of the year. They're happy in case anything else ever happens. If we mess something up, then the agent has to get involved. They have to deal with it, and that's not what we want. We want to make sure that we're taking care of that homeowner for the agent. So when they get, when something happens, they call the agent back and say thank you for referring us to Southeast.
Just a follow-up to that, from a marketing strategy standpoint too, just practically, are you guys on typical social media and website, SEO marketing, and all that kind of stuff too?
We are. We've got a creative director that's been with us now for about 8 years, and he manages all of our social media sites and website and positive reviews and everything there.
It's the same guy that makes and designs.
He does. Yeah. Anything you see with a logo on it, David Ruff is responsible for. So he has to deal with me. I'm a little on the creative side and and the detail side. So he has to deal with me on some of that stuff. But one of the greatest compliments we get is even as we've been growing the business is you present yourself as a much larger company than you are, especially in some of these smaller markets, and we're able to do that through some of that branding.
There's another question on here asking about a T-shirt that somebody has seen with C323, which I also notice is on the side of your coin. C323, the only know what that means.
I'm gonna let Jeremy answer that.
C323, one of our core values, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart. It's working for the Lord and not unto man. You'll find that in Colossians 3:23. C323 abbreviated so that people will ask questions. You may see it on shirts and coins, and we get to share and share a little bit of our testimony from time to time. So, awesome. Good question.
Can I ask a question? You touched base a little bit on the process of like bringing on a new team member and like making sure that their values are in line with your values, and like what that looks like a little bit.
Yeah, Melissa's a big part of our onboarding. So Lindsay, we've got a director of team member development that does all the recruiting and goes through, and I don't know how many check marks there are on the onboarding process, but we go through, we're really cautious and careful about adding team members because we want to make sure it's the right. So they go through a vigorous number of interviews, either phone, in person, with other team members. They come and do a ride-along. One of the things before we get ready to really bring somebody on board full-time is we want them to take a day and come ride along with somebody in their role to make sure that it's a good fit for them. And sometimes it is, and sometimes it scares them to death and they're not interested. But the onboarding process, we would love to be able to speed that up, but through different resources and everything that we see and read, it's critical on the front end to make sure that people are aligned. We are a Christian organization, but that doesn't mean you got to be a Christian to work for us. We've had people in the past that have come on board, and we've been able to positively influence in that area. And we're not going to hold that against anybody, but with our values and what we do on a day-to-day basis, they see through and are able to see that. So onboarding, is a lot of steps. I think it's
160.
It's a lot, and we divide it up.
160, is that what you said?
There's just a lot. There's a lot of steps
A lot of
that a lot of people have to go through certain things to be able to become part, because they're family. I mean, once they're in, they become family, and they're part of the team, and we're going to feed into them, and we want them to be bought in. If they're just there for a paycheck and looking for something to do from 9 to 5, we're probably in the wrong industry and probably the wrong company to be working with.
I'm going to start using that for friends. You can agree with these 160 points before I spend any time.
It's not a 160 point question there.
No, and it starts with our website. You can go to join our team that way, or through Indeed, other means that way. And then usually from there it starts with a phone call, and you can gather a lot of information about somebody from a phone call, and just get to know them and see how comfortable you are with that person, and then that would lead on to possibly meeting with someone directly with our company. So, and then all those tasks of onboarding them, but it's very enjoyable.
Our greatest referrals are internal,
ourselves.
personal referrals. So we've got a team member referral program set up. We would much rather put money in the pockets of our team members for referring other good team members than to give it to recruiting agencies or people that don't have any buy-in to our business. So we put together an intense team member referral program where they get paid at 6 months, a year, and at 2 years. If they're still a team member and the other person's still a team member, they get cash for referring. And that's our best referrals by far. That we get is team member referrals. Melissa was a team member. Was a referral.
Yes, Steve.
So I want to know what's scarier, more challenging, scaling up from an employee standpoint and know that you have that responsibility of that person's family on your shoulders, or is it the fiscal side of it from buildings and centralizing locations and that kind of thing? Or both?
Yeah, I think for myself, it's the people side, making sure we're doing the right things to keep the people that we've got as team members, and then recruit new team members that are going to help take us to another level. People that are difference makers in doing that. The locations and the facility parts are the fun parts to me. And it's different in every location. We own about half of our buildings in our locations, and we lease the other half, and it's all strategic, which way we want which way we want to go, in those locations depending on the market. So that stuff doesn't keep me up at night. And really, Brandy can tell you I sleep good. I don't have any problem sleeping at night because if you do the right thing for the people day after day, I think it pays off and you can sleep well at night. So as we continue to grow, with the organization, and not only do we track the number of team members, but we track the number of family members that are attached to that team, because that's a big part. It's the family. We buy the whole package. In our vision statement, it says we want to make our team members and their families happy, because if they're happy but their families are not, we're going to have a hard time keeping them on board. We want to make sure they're happy there.
And let me just say that he does things like, he will write a note. You talked about those cards that we send throughout the office to different team members. He'll also write a note to our spouse and let us know that he appreciates us and the hard work that we put into the business. And that, as an employee, means a lot, that he is reaching out to our family members, telling them how proud he is of us.
Plus, you're riding roller coasters with people out of town.
Riding roller coasters.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's commitment.
That's right.
I'll see you in 3 hours.
Love it. The kids are our future, so they're the important ones to me.
That's true.
Love the kids.
Yeah. There's a pretty serious question from the app, and I'm not sure if I should really ask it. Yeah. Have you ever proudly worn a Speedo? Now, you don't have to answer this. That's right.
Yeah, I know the anonymous.
All right, moving on. Next question.
No, and I will only tell this because he also wore one.
Yes.
So my best friend Kip Wilbanks here, we travel together with our wives, and we've been close for over 15 years. And so last year, was it last year? Was it last year? Year before last, we had an opportunity to go to Maui to celebrate Kip's 50th birthday and Kip and Candy's 50th birthdays and our 20th anniversary. So we made it big, and we went out to Maui, and knowing that we were going to do that, and there shouldn't be anybody else that we would know anywhere in Hawaii.
This was planned?
This was planned. I ordered, without his permission, I ordered 2 black Speedos, and then I went and had a local T-shirt company print Brandy and Candy's name across the back of it. Big white letters and on the back of the Speedo. So we had a great. We put them underneath the swimsuits, and I think it was the first day we put them underneath the swimsuits. We got down to the pool, and they were putting stuff on the chairs, and we dropped trowel and had their names on the back of them. She's still traumatized.
Real traumatized.
So everybody around the pool enjoyed them as well. Kip hung in there with me. He tried to put his other suit back on. He hung in there with me.
It's too late. You've already committed.
Just had to lighten the mood a little bit.
We're committed.
I'm pretty sure that would be a deal breaker with my wife.
I was not expecting that question.
Yeah. And we're out of time. So
We were making it fun. There are pictures around.
yeah, there's still pictures. No, we don't want this to be the last lunch circuit. So we're out of time. If you feel like you can answer it super fast.
You ask these two some questions if
Yeah.
you get time.
There-
But yeah,
so-
I can answer another question.
And then we're out of time, so I can let people ask you maybe offline if you have a couple minutes.
Yeah,
hanging
I'll
out.
be around.
How do y'all express philanthropy in the community?
Each community's different. We have a sponsorship budget that we work with every year, and then we have an initiative around widows and orphans. So, we identify areas where widows need help, or there's some orphan children that need help, and then in each community we have service days every quarter, and then we do one big annual service day in October for the whole company, and we go out and identify areas to give back and to serve in the community. So,
About the Ben Hernandez story.
yeah, you tell them.
We had a team member last year that we tragically lost to a brief bout with cancer. He found out in August and passed in December. and left behind 7 kids. So we were blessed to be able to partake and still partaking in her life and their lives, providing Christmas to them and their family on short notice. They were doing treatments all over the country, internationally as well. And that comes right from Ben's heart. So I think we're wrapping up. So if I can just say in 30 seconds, I love this guy. I love this guy. Who you saw today is the real deal. I mean, what you see is what you get. Wednesday at the circuit, Sunday morning at church, Friday night around the dinner table with his family. I mean, this guy is genuine as the day is long, and I've been blessed to know him for a decade and work alongside him. But this is the genuine article. So grateful for you, Chief.
And I've only known him for a year and a half that I've been with him, and I agree. I like him pretty well so far. And I will say quickly, because he doesn't mention this a lot, as far as serving, we also get 5 mission days a year, every team member. And we just had someone serve in Kenya for a week and a half. This is her 2nd year in a row going, and it's truly been a blessing for her. And, you know, if we all could get away and serve like that for a week, but he does offer that to us, to every team member.
Melissa is the saint. She has to put up with my schedule and my pace.
That's Brandy.
And she does a great job. Somebody was asking about if I'm available on a certain day, and I said she knows my calendar better than I do. So she has to take care of me and make sure I'm where I'm supposed to be and when I'm supposed to be there. And
You can thank me, he's here
it's
today.
phone calls and text at 10:30 at night, or when I'm probably asleep, or at 6 o'clock the next morning when things that need to be done before the day gets started. So she's my right hand there at work. So we're very grateful for her.
And I thought I was pretty responsive on email until I met Melissa. So it's almost by the time I've hit send, there's a reply back. That's
Not only she handles her email, she handles mine too. So she gets all my emails. So
thank you, Ben, for the time. We really appreciate the story and for being a part of it with us.
I'm gonna be around for a little while. So
Yeah. So would you guys give it up for Ben one time?